Bland County Public School hearing on the 2021-22 budget. I'll give a little intro, and then we'll talk, see if anybody signed up, and we have a couple that have come in electronically. The first pass on next year's budget is $9,523,046, with a request from the county of $3,006,000. And that is still to be worked out with them and where we're at. This is, I will say, fairly early in the process yet. Still getting information from the state of Virginia as to what our funding will be from them, but we did get an update. Was it today we got an update, Cindy? So we're working with them on essentially a minute-by-minute basis. The current budget has the step increase that teachers get, or staff gets. Got brighter in here when I said that. Plus a 2% increase. The plan for the year is to have both in-house and virtual education, but the virtual education will be being supplied by the Region 7 Virtual Academy. It will not be being done by our teachers. We'll be outsourcing the virtual education. That's our current plan. In this budget, there is $350,000 of CARES money, which is money related to the coronavirus, both on the revenue side and on the expenditure side. With that, do we have any additional write-ins? Do you know? Okay, we have three that came in electronically. I will read them. These type of things are public comment, but I think we'll probably be able to answer some of the concerns here. I think I will read all three and then try and answer all the questions at one time, because there's some duplication in here. Okay, from Angela Osborne. Good evening, my name is Angela Hayes. Okay, I have a granddaughter in the 6th grade, and I am the wife of football coach John Hayes. My questions are concerning the athletic fund and the sport complex. How is the athletic fund funded? How much is given to the fund each year? How is the fund divided between the different sports? Why is the baseball field taken care of, but the girls' softball field isn't? Example, field doesn't drain properly, grass is not cared for like baseball field, infield is not raked and cared for like baseball field. The football complex needs a tremendous amount of work. I am only allowed 3 minutes, and everything cannot be covered in 3 minutes. On top of the complex issues, the football program is going to require $15,000 to $20,000 for new helmets, shoulder pads, and other equipment that are outdated. I do understand there is only so much money to work with. However, why can we not budget several $100,000 a year for work to be completed? The money is for children, so let's put it into the children's needs. Thank you for your time and appreciate all that you do, Angela Hayes. Next item from Howard and Dreama Walker. It has come to my attention that the football team is in need of new helmets. I hope that the school will get behind these boys and budget accordingly. We did not have a team last year, and the community and schools need to help out with supporting this team. Due to COVID, everyone's finances have suffered, and people cannot afford to give as in the past with donations and such. We need to build this program and recognize those who are willing to participate and give them a team school to be proud of. Thank you for your time, Howard and Dreama Walker. This one's from Tanya and George Edwards. Dear ladies and gentlemen of the board, we are asking you to budget in money for our Bears football team. It has come to our attention that we're going to need new helmets for the fall season, or we don't get to play per the VHSL. COVID and the Virginia restrictions have not only hurt our kids, but our sports program as well. We have not been able to raise the money that we need, with not having a varsity team the year before last and not getting to play this past fall has hurt our fundraising abilities. These boys have worked hard for the past year trying to get our football program back going. Apparently the money that was allotted for the football team was dispersed to other areas the season that we did not have a varsity team, even though we had a middle school team. The parents can only do so much. These kids have suffered enough. They deserve to get to play. They deserve to be proud of their school. They are tired of being made fun of because the county and school won't get behind them. Thank you for your time, Tanya and George Edwards. Okay, just some general comments on sports funding. In the general fund, the school system pays for coaches and pays for facilities. Other items are generally handled through what's termed the athletic fund or the activity funds at the high school. The last report that I have, and Tyler, you may know if this is different now, but the last report, which was at the beginning of this school year, the athletic fund at the high school had $62,461.02 in it. Those funds come from. In addition to that, there are funds that are for individual sports. The interesting thing, and I don't know whether it was because, well, there is a varsity football. Varsity football at the beginning of the school year had just in its own account $891.46. So if group works to make money for the football team, that goes into the football fund. And then, of course, there is also the athletic fund. So there's been two things going on. One is we haven't been having games, so we haven't had a gate. And so that money hasn't been coming in. On the other side, we haven't been spending a lot of money in the last year. Have we, Tyler? I don't know.
Well, I mean, that number you gave, I'd have to double check with Tiffany, but the last I recall, we were in the 30,000 range for that.
Well, this is from the audit, which was done for the year ending June 30th, 2020, is what I'm reading from here. So
I'd have to look, to be honest with you.
I think one of the problems is your expenditures is way over your revenue. And you're still, the parents can't sell concessions, and they're not bringing that kind of income that we're normally used to seeing. Tyler, give them an idea of what it costs and help me to understand that the helmets have to be inspected every 2 years, correct? Then they have to be recertified. And a new helmet is usually purchased every 2 years or so, a group of helmets. That hasn't happened for 2 or 3 years, so we're behind.
Right.
So give us an example of how much that's cost.
Well, I mean, so when we had our last group of helmets reconditioned, I think we sent 12 helmets off, and that was roughly $600 fee just to have a recondition.
$600 total?
What is it?
600 total?
600 total. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, to do a whole football team, we're talking $1,200, $1,300, $1,400. A new helmet, and you can help with me, Ms. Hayes, is what, roughly $250, $300?
If we buy, I'm Miss Hayes, I'm the one that's
Okay.
the comment. You can only recondition a helmet so many times before you can't reuse it. And if I'm correct, we've reconditioned all that we can do. So it's not an option to recondition anymore. If we after the fall season, we can use them through the fall season this year. But going into next year, if we buy last year's helmets, they're roughly $350 to $400. That's buying the lower brand of helmet. They meet the standards, you know, they're not the high-end helmets, but they meet standards. And they're anywhere from $350 to $400 a helmet. So, but the ones that we have, it's my understanding, have been reconditioned all that they can be.
Okay.
They've been there several years.
Yeah.
And piggyback off what Mr. Mead said, we were able to take a gate, starting with football season and volleyball season, but prior to that, there is no gate. And we're looking at $250, $300 some odd dollars for a football game just to supply referees at the varsity level.
I know the
Yeah,
basketball
thanks, sir.
team, I think, what I'll call boosters, they raised quite a bit of money for the basketball team, didn't they?
Yes, sir. They, Coach Mao did a fundraising round, and I think also, I don't think he got a grant. Ms. Bradshaw helped him put together, and Ms. Parker, for jerseys that they got this year. But,
Who did the
every
grant?
group does a significant amount of fundraising,
Yeah.
because that's how they survive.
Right. Who did the grant go through, do you know? Quill?
And our girls are lined up to do the same thing for this year.
Okay.
We have been fundraising as the football boosters. We've done several fundraisers. We were able to buy a new set of uniforms for the boys this year. The local churches have graciously helped us feed them, you know, before games and while they're traveling and things like that. We have some more things in the works, but not for this kind of
Right.
money. I had also talked about, and I don't know how or who to reach out to, and maybe someone here does. You know, I mentioned in the comment about the football complex. The field is a swamp. You know, all the water just drains down into the field. I didn't know if there was someone who was in contact with someone at Virginia Tech that maybe they could come in here and do a project and maybe, you know, fix the field. And, you know, if we don't have to have AstroTurf. You know, if you put a turf field down, you're looking at $900,000 minimum. We can't afford that. I know that. But if you restructure the field a little bit, roll it, maybe burn it all, put some Bermuda grass, something, you know, get someone that knows what they're doing in here to fix that, $40,000, $50,000, you may have a perfectly fine field, you know, put some drains in, do a few things like that and fix the field, you know. I realize that there's a lot of things that, you know, you don't have the boosters and the support in this county. I'm a Graham girl. So, you know, I come from where you don't have to ask for anything because it's there. You know, and my husband and I are doing our very best to help try to get everything going over here in Blaine County. And so far we are seeing positive things, but we also, you gotta have help, you know.
Right.
So if anybody knows anything, you know, someone at Virginia Tech in that department, I know they specialize with their turf field and the things they do and their drainage systems and what they have under their field down there. There may be an option of getting in touch with someone. They may do it as a program, you know, and, you know, like the work that needs to be done on the complex. I know that sometimes using the offenders at the prison, you know, maybe we could get somebody to come in and help us do those things. You know, we're willing to help do whatever we have to do to get these things going, but as far as the equipment, for football is expensive. It's your most expensive sport. And typically, in other counties, football is your biggest moneymaker.
Right.
But in Blaine County, it doesn't seem to be. And seems that basketball is your biggest moneymaker in Blaine County. But we're trying to get it to where football will be your biggest moneymaker. So,
Okay, thank you.
I'll shut up now.
Any other board member want to make a comment on this, or
No, I think like, another spend we've got looking at us is bleachers too. So, I mean, we kind of put that off, I guess, what was it, 2 years ago? We were ready to kind of pull the trigger on the purchase and we held off on it, and then the next year kind of worked out because we would have bought bleachers and then not be able to field a football team, and then COVID as well, so.
We've done a few upgrades, not as much as needed, but we've put a roof on the building down there, and we've redone the bathrooms. I think they look really nice now. And we replaced a lot of the old boards, but that's just a small drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
So
What was the price on the bleachers, you remember?
I can't remember. I was looking that up today, and the only thing I could find was redoing the gym floor. So
Yeah, I knew it was well over $100,000, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, well over.
well, that's just for the bleachers. You'd have to.
Yeah, the
Asphalt
concrete
it
and
and-
the asphalt concrete, yeah.
I still think that's something that we need to look at in the future. Even in this next year, even whatever we can do. I don't know what normally, so what you're saying is, Mr. Shippers, is that for uniforms and for equipment like helmets and pads and so forth like that, the athletic fund and the boosters would normally have to cover those
We
things.
normally cover those, yes. And right now, we're asking the county for an additional, $300,000 more this year than last year. And I know the county itself is having financial problems, so I'm sure there'll be a lot of discussion back and forth on this.
Mhm.
Also, not just the football field, but the girls' softball field, it's also a swamp. I think the thing that could fix it is maybe just a drain, and because if it rains, the infield is a mess. The baseball field is gorgeous down there, but then you walk across and you look at the girls' softball field, and it's like a totally different world. It wouldn't take that much to fix the girls' softball field if somebody knows what they're doing. You go over there and put I don't know how to do it, but maybe I know when it rains, it floods the infield, and
Right, we'll get with
Melvin.
JDM and have them take a look at it. We might be able to haul dirt in and raise the infield or do something, right?
Who's the guy that retired at the high school a couple of years ago? He's supposed to know all the drains at that football field.
Johnny Gibson.
Who?
Johnny Gibson.
No, not Johnny Gibson. It's a retired teacher. God. Who? Guy Boone. There you go. Thank you. He's supposed to know where all the drains are there. He might be a person too to touch base. And I forgot about Johnny Gibson. Johnny Gibson probably knows every inch of this
Yeah,
whole
he was
complex
part
down
of
through here.
Building the whole thing.
Yeah.
We'll take a look at it and see if we can, what we can get going on it. Okay, as far as the public hearing goes, anything else that anybody would like to discuss? Okay, if not, ask for a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
Second,
4.
4.
Or need a motion to reconvene the regular board meeting?
Make a motion to reconvene.
Autry,
4.
Ms. Puckett,
4.
Mr. Bailey,
4.
Mr. Shepherd.
Or, Philip, you do the invocation?
Father God, we thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to come this evening and talk about the education of our students and, Lord, the other matters that go along with it. God, we ask, Lord, that you'd bring health and your favor, Lord, upon all of our employees and students and parents. And God, we ask, Lord, that you'd touch these that are sick and afflicted in our community. God, we ask that you give us wisdom tonight to dispense with the business of our organization. And God, that we would honor you in everything we say and we do. In Jesus' name, amen.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first action is to approve the minutes of the February 9th meeting and the February 23rd special meeting. Any modifications to those amendments?
Make a motion to approve the minutes for both meetings.
Second.
Mr. Bailey?
4.
Mr. Petrie?
4.
Ms. Puckett? 4. Mr. Shepherd?
4. Next item is the attendance report. We had 664 students at the end of February, down from 676 last year, a reduction of 12. Of that, 326 were in elementary, 338 were in high school. We currently have 30 students from outside our district which attend our schools. Okay, financial reports. As I said in the public hearing, we are starting into the budget process and are at the point that we need to get together with the county, the Board of Supervisors, and talk to them about the budget. We do have $350,000 in our budget from CARES money to cover various things that are in addition. We will be doing both in-house and remote, and that will give a lot of flexibility for students and also will increase the number of offerings they have. We are expecting our enrollment to go down again next year. The senior class is our biggest class, so as the senior class exits, we're expecting it not to be replaced by the incoming kindergarten class. I know we've been signing kids up. Laura, do you have any idea how many?
Kindergartners?
Yes.
We've registered 13. We have 18 more on a waiting list to meet with tomorrow and next Wednesday.
Okay.
And then that'll probably get us 2/3 of all the kindergartners in the county. And then we'll have to start scratching at doors to get the
Okay.
rest registered.
Do you see anybody that's holding their students back because of COVID and just going to let them go a year later, or is that an issue?
Like 5-year-olds holding them back another year?
Right.
No, I've not had any conversations like that. Of course, everybody who's showing up at this point wants to get them registered and started as quickly as possible. So it's your
Right.
most eager families who are showing up for registration.
The ones, please take them, huh? Okay. Hopefully that's a good sign. Dental program update. Who wants to volunteer for that?
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Lindsay Waters. I'm a hygienist, and I'm also the program manager. I just started here a little over a month ago, so I'm kind of new to this. Update on this, we had papers sent home from Mr. Grimm last week, and they were supposed to be due this Thursday. If you could maybe send out a remind, I don't know how that works, just to kind of get everybody in there. So we're scheduled for next Monday, the 15th. We'll start with screenings. That will simply be me coming in, taking a look at all the children and giving them a score. That paper will go home to tell the parents.
So will they come to a chair and you actually do a evaluation? I mean, you do
Yes,
it?
we've got it set up in the old ag building at the elementary school.
Okay.
So that'll be a simple day. And so we'll send that paper home. And then it gives the parents a chance to say, thank you for letting me know. I'm going to take them to our family dentist. Or they can check to say, I give permission for you all to treat accordingly to whatever they need. And then we'll proceed. So as far as cleanings go, I can be doing the cleanings, sealants, fluoride, more extensive treatment will need to be done in a dental clinic, and that's where the transportation information comes from. So we need to discuss that. The funding for the transportation comes from the Elgin Foundation, Elgin Children's Foundation, to pay for school bus transporting for the kids for that. So that is what's scheduled for next week. Who has questions about anything?
So you think you can do all the, this is what grades, all the way through?
'Kay.
First pass next week, or
Yes.
inspection?
Yes, we're hoping for a good turnout. We're wanting to encourage a lot, most of the kids to come and do the screenings. The more screenings that we get, the more funding that the Elgin Foundation gets. So we're not trying to take from our community's dentists or anything like that. If they have a dental home, that's completely fine. We just like to do a checkup on them and then reach the kids who don't have a dental home. They don't have insurance, they don't have transportation, they don't have a way to get the dental care that they need. And by treating them in the schools, we're going to eliminate dental emergencies and things like that. So yes, next Monday, I feel sure that I can get all of them done in that day.
That's what it was all about,
Yes.
being able to bridge that gap, and we're excited to have this program. I know I saw the paper come to my house, and with that, and just for anybody that's maybe watching us at home tonight, it might be good to just give them a refresh. Basically, there's qualifications in essence that this dental care can be taken care of
Yes.
if you qualify. Would you all care to just explain that really quick, gloss over that, and that way some folks know? And then maybe there's some folks that maybe have dental insurance, but maybe they just haven't had the time to take their kid, and tell us about how that works.
Also, first want to clarify that this first is a visual, quick screening, and so it's not taking the place of the full dental exam from the dentist. So this, like she said, this is for any student to participate, even if you already have the insurance. I know that also time is a barrier for a lot of parents, having to pull them out of school and taking them to a pediatric dentist. There's not one close, and so if she says she'll send the paper home, your child was screened, assuming they send the permission slip back, you can check, we'll take care of this at our dental home, thank you so much, or I do want to sign up for the program. We will send that qualify financially, and so if they have private insurance, we can bill that. They'll be billing it through Delta Dental of Tennessee, and so that's what's going to reimburse us and help this program be sustainable on our end. But we have funding this year that we can serve anybody, and we can pull funds. I mean, if there's a child that, they said that if you are eligible for the free and reduced lunch, then you will be eligible for the program under Elgin. But we're not going to turn a kid away if,
No.
yeah.
Right.
And it'll be completely free to parents. Just, we're billing those insurances and getting Elgin reimbursement so that we can keep doing it. Does that make sense?
Does that answer your question?
I think so.
Sounds like a super program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're super excited, and like I said, I just started here recently. We've only got a few weeks left in the school year, it seems like. So we'll just be doing the best that we can this school year, and hopefully by the fall we'll have a set program. We're also working with Wythe County Schools as well. So we'll have an actual schedule as to where we can do what, and we'll have a better idea of how things work. So one thing I wanted to ask you is there a time that you would want to start in the morning?
I think as early as 9 a.m. would be fine.
Okay, I can get there before then, set up and be ready. Okay. We need a contact person at the school to be the dental liaison. I don't know if that can be a school nurse or if anybody else has an idea of who that could be. I am the program director, so I am the contact here, just one person and not just a mass email. Does anybody have an idea?
Most likely it'd be our school nurse.
Okay, that'll be good. I can get her contact. So there's one thing on the papers that we sent home. I know, Mr. Mead, you had wanted to take the social security number off for the student. That is only an issue because when we bill Delta Dental to get our funding, that's how we identify the child. So I don't know how
She took
to,
out the initial form for screenings.
Yes.
So that we're not collecting for every child.
Right.
But if it's okay with you, we do need to collect that for the kids that do participate in the full program. If that's something that we can collect, if we need to contact the parents directly to get that.
Yeah.
then
yeah,
so be
it doesn't have to be on a form. We can do it however, but that is something that we're gonna have to need. Do you have any?
How visible will this social security number be? I think that's everybody's concern is, how can it be protected?
HIPAA. We follow all HIPAA regulations, OSHA regulations, everything is confidential with us.
It'd be like giving it to your regular dentist. so,
Exactly,
right.
exactly, yes, and I know you all have school records too, you follow regulations as well, so it would be the same. It's only for us and our insurance billing, and that's it, that's all who sees it, so. We also do electronic records, so we can scan that information into their charts, and actually shred the papers, if that would be good too.
Did you say Kathy was gonna be the contact?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm okay with that then.
And I think that is all I had to note. Does anybody else have any questions? Concerns?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you.
Good to see you.
Talked a little bit already about remote classes next year, and just a few months ago, we weren't sure how this was going to take place, whether we were going to have cameras in our classrooms and our teachers responsible, whether we were going to have our teachers that had to do remote classes and essentially maybe not in-house classes. There were a lot of options, but a group decided to take Region 7 and build this Region 7 Virtual Academy. And sounded like a big step at the time, but it's really come together tremendous. And people from all over the state now are coming and looking at it, and even them, they thought they would be hiring teachers to do remote teaching, and there's actually been providers that have been doing this for years have come to them and said, let us do the teaching, and that they would keep the teacher ratio the same as brick and mortar, and have multiple offerings, and even offerings for special needs. So this thing's come together really well, and we voted sometime earlier to be a part of this, hoping that people signing in early would keep it moving forward. So we think this is a great opportunity. It takes the burden off our teachers, gives us more options, and also more offerings for our students. So the thing about this, though, is that they're talking, you know, nobody knows the number of students that are going to want to go virtual from a pandemic standpoint. And so you're really struggling to say, okay, what should our investment be? What kind of commitments should we make? And a lot of this is rules that we have to make in-house, and rules such as how are we going to utilize this service, which students can attend, can they go in, come back, do we allow students outside of our county to be a part of it and a part of our school system? So there's a lot of questions here, and we've asked Ms. Hopkins to look into this and come back with essentially something to put on the table that we can start discussing. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Hopkins.
Thank you, Mr. Shepherd. So, right, we have gone in lots of different directions from the very first report I gave on online education, because we were talking about swivel and a number of different things. So when Mr. Shepherd first asked me about this on Friday, he talked about a straw man proposal, which was speaking my language. But then as I worked with some superintendents over the last few days, it really appeared to me that it's not going to be a straw man proposal because it's so outlined. things are really put together well with the Region 7 Virtual Academy. And Mr. Shepherd gave a good introduction to it. So I will just go through some things that he's talked about and some things that I think we have in place. This morning, some superintendents received course descriptions, so it's really ready to go. As far as the 3 options that we have, and we'll get into that, I just gave those to the principals. I haven't had time to talk to them because we just got it this morning. I've been on a number of Zoom calls this morning, and regions are ready to add these course descriptions or these courses to their class list as they're enrolling students. So we'll talk about how that might work for us. If we'll quickly just go through this, I started out as thinking about the concept of a straw man proposal with, generally we're going to improve something or look at revenue, or everybody's discussing it and it's getting everybody's input and what the final decision will be. But I think you'll find that that's probably not the case here. I think it's a base hit across the board with what's going on in the Region 7 Virtual Academy. So the concept is the Region 7 Virtual Academy. The first thing is to discuss the role of teachers. Our teachers will be out of it, and I think they'll be pleased. But I do want to say that there are opportunities for they should really consider the opportunity to stay in with Virtual Virginia, of the options available. If they're interested in doing something, it is a good chance for them to stay in VRS and think about Virtual Virginia. There are some teachers who might choose, because of what's going on at home, or they just enjoy online teaching. They can choose. Now, these jobs aren't posted yet. I looked again this morning, but they will be posted hopefully this week. So if we have teachers who are interested in just teaching online, we want them to know that there will be jobs available. So I think most of us, at least teachers or principals, Laura and I were talking about this, are familiar with the instructional providers. We're familiar with Virtual Virginia. You're familiar, right, Angel? Okay. And K-12, they're already changed the name to Stride. So, and then Edgenuity. Edgenuity is something that we use at Options now. I think because we've used so many things in the past, that the process is going to be pretty seamless for us. We just have to nail down a couple of things that we want to do in-house. And then as far as what we need to do for students who want to apply, it's not going to be a big deal. Edgenuity is more, you might need some remediation. Edgenuity is, Edgenuity is a strength. So all 3 of these are good options for us. For me, I would say we offer all 3 options to our students. There's strengths for all of them. Virtual Virginia is for students who do well. I think that we don't want our littles to be enrolled in any online education if we can help it. If they do choose to be online and we have to use that as an option to keep them in-house, then almost most Edgenuity is where they go. Virtual Virginia is not the best option, in my opinion, for little ones, or neither will be K-12. Edgenuity will be that, but obviously
why is that? Because you said that it's more for remediation and stuff.
Well, it's not just for remediation, but in your pamphlet, you'll see that they've been doing K through 5. There's an option there for K through 5 education, 6 through 12 education, and an overview of instructional services. So none of this is new for any of these providers, but Edgenuity is a good option for elementary students. And I think that K-12 has a lot of options, but most people will go with Edgenuity for the little ones. And ideally, we would like to keep our K through 3 students in-house if that's an option. Guidelines on participation. So this is what we were really talking about, Mr. Shepherd, earlier, is, what's Blaine County going to do? So here's what I didn't know until we really got into it in the last few days. Each provider has all of these guidelines. They're very specific, and pretty basic. You have to have a certain GPA, and you have to promise to, it's just something saying that you and your parents are going to promise to do X throughout this course. As far as Blaine County, I think that the more stringent you are, then you're going to have to keep up with that all the way across. So we know that our students do better in online education if their attendance is good, if they have a certain GPA, if they have excellent grades. We have that already in our handbook when we have our students who are allowed to do dual enrollment. So we already have that piece set up for us. It's not, I think that it's something for us to think about, and I think our teachers have to be involved in that and our principals, but we also want to not limit it so much that we know, like right now, we have a student that we want to be online for him to graduate. So we don't want to put ourselves in such a scope that we don't allow students who might benefit from online education, and we don't allow that for them. So
What if one has a health issue and wants to be online because of a health issue, and maybe they don't meet some of the other criteria?
Right. Yeah, so I think that what we were talking earlier about it, I think that it's by approval. So we want to just throw out an application, get our application, not just throw it out, but applications have gone out in some of the counties, and see what the interest is. We're ready to do that.
Is
And
it
then
possible for it to take care of homebound students?
that's on here, yes. So we want to get applications, see look at the interest. I don't know how much interest we'll have, and then it's based upon acceptance, and leave it pretty general, like based upon acceptance into our program. The thing that I'm most concerned about that the other people that I've been working with haven't had to think about as much is SOL scores. So we're still going to be, even at the elementary level and at the high school level, these students have to pass the SOL. So if a teacher, and I'm going to go, as soon as an application comes into Blaine County, we're to pass. What's the history here? Is that going to, if we think that, we don't have the luxury of a huge district, and we might have to start looking at that. We have to look at our accreditation with that. So we'll want to look at a history of test scores
So
for
Jill,
the application.
if somebody, say, even as far as Chesapeake, wants to enroll in our school system, that means when they take their SOL test, those scores reflect on our scores.
So that's down here a little bit further. I did, let me hit that in just a minute.
I'm sorry, okay.
Right here.
Yeah. So I do think that test scores have to be part of our application as we're considering that. And so we were talking about what's the role, who decides this, how does this happen? How that would probably work for us is that generally, like when we accept students from other counties or whatever, we have the principals involved in that, and then it's approved by our superintendent. Many counties now have a liaison from the virtual academy to here. I think our best option is also a team approach. Laura and I were talking about earlier, we would like for the applications to come here, all the applications to come directly to the school board office first, and then for us to get principal input and then move forward from there. So the next piece is guidelines on participation. So that is also, so this is brand new. And this year, I think we've had some flipping back and forth, not so much at the elementary level, but more at the high school level. Is that right, Mike?
Yeah, ours have been pretty consistent.
But at the high school level. A lot of programs are going to let them, if they're going on vacation, they can still get their instruction there. Matt Hurt is working on the CIP piece. So let's say they're in, because Angel's here, they're in Angel's class and they're going to be gone. Sometimes that gets iffy. If you say, okay, you're going to be gone 2 weeks, I'm going to let another teacher teach you for 2 weeks and then come back to my class. The teachers I've worked with at the high school probably aren't going to be a fan of that. So I like saying that if you're enrolled, you're enrolled. to an X for a date. And then, I mean, we're not gonna let a kid crash. And we have to look at that, but initially, we say you're enrolled for a specific amount of time, and then they can re-enroll at the high school or at the elementary school at the end of the semester, or whatever that might be. Generally, it would be a semester. Now, if we get in there and a student is absolutely failing and they're going to go in the ditch in the first 6 weeks, we intervene. So what are the controls? The controls, this is just the discussion, some things I thought we should talk about. What are the controls? The controls are monitoring. That's part of that team that we're talking about here. We monitor that progress. They have also someone there who is monitoring progress. The teacher is monitoring progress. Just like that, if our students are enrolled in an online class through Ed Options or through dual enrollment, somebody's monitoring those classes, right, Charlie? So we turn in a facilitator for that. So those students would be in a class at I'm gonna talk mostly, I think this is gonna hit high school and middle school more than anything. So they'll be in a classroom, just like they are now, and we assign a facilitator to that class. Right now, we have Ms. James, who does a phenomenal job for us. She facilitates that. So email is sent from the teacher to Ms. James and to the principal and to the guidance counselor. And I would keep that same protocol. So we all know what's going on with that student, and parents are called or whatever. You're still getting those types. Yeah, so I would keep those controls in place. If they're not doing well online, do we let them return in seat? We don't let students sync. So if they're not doing well online, yes. What's the role of guidance counselors? We've talked about that a little bit. Across the board, the folks that I've talked to in the last little bit, it's simply registering them for classes. There's no extra on a guidance counselor. It would just be like, if you're gonna enroll in a dual enrollment class, you're also a student's gonna enroll in this class as well. There's nothing additional for a guidance counselor. Having a list of being able to provide to students, these are the courses available. How's the process managed? I see the process as a student says, I'm going online for next year, and we explain what's available to them. And as soon as that happens, it's really not it's almost something that we do already. They're going online, we're going to register them for classes. We tell them they get an email from us. We already set them up with an email and other things that we offer them. And so most of our students, if they're going online, they have been online in some capacity, so they're used to that. Partial or whole, remote, in-house combination. So yes, to all of that. It can be, in my opinion, so Mr. Shepherd said, if you were going to say everything, what would you want? I say all of it. They can be fully online. They can take the classes partially. And that means this is not new for us. We have students at the high school who spend most of the morning in online classes. They are structured. We schedule them in online classes, and they're in the library or in the computer lab. Right, still? Okay, so it's not like they're going anywhere. They're not coming and going. They're still come, they check in, and we know where they are. I mean, safety is still first with this. So they check in, and then they go to a traditional class for the end of the day. So we have a lot of students who are in online education at the beginning of the day. And it doesn't matter when it is. If they're in Governor's Academy, it can be beginning and end. You know, you just have to mix it up. We have students who overlap that with lunch, and we make that happen. So that's what I mean, is it partial or whole? So I'm still going to promote dual enrollment over any of this for the top students. This is just a piece for if they want to take, I'm thinking of the top online high school students, if there's an elective that they really need and they're trying to get into a four-year college, and physics, it's an option here. And it might not be something that will fit in their virtual Virginia, in their governor's courses. So I think that the high school students specifically could do a combination. Now, middle school and elementary, probably not, but something they can think about. Although they might could. Might say, okay, you could do social studies and science, but I don't know that there's a benefit to that. Hopefully they would just be, if they're in-house, they're in-house. Something you could think about. The other piece that you could think about is faculty. I mean, if our scores are low in history, in English or math, then, you know, we might have to, like I know I worked with or spent a little time with PALS and it was great, but there was no extra room. But if you had somebody else teaching social studies, that you could have pull some of those teachers to help with some reading and math. So that's a good point there. Oversight and role of principals. I think principals are responsible for everything that happens in their building, so they have to be included in that process. They would get they would be part of the process of determining if these students are accepted online or not. Residential versus non-residential, what's those requirements? It's the same as what we're doing now. If they're here, if there are students in our county, we still have to provide food and all that, but not like we're delivering it. Whatever services we provide our kids in-house or in-seat, we still have to provide the virtual students. So they have to come and pick it up. That's really all that we have to provide to them. It was expressed to me that, you know, they have to have a computer and all those things, and ours do that. The next piece was you asked me how students are handled coming and going. I think that's a non-issue. Do you want to ask me anything about that?
Well, do they have to check in and check out, or do they just walk in and walk out?
No. They check in and check out, but they don't get to check out. I mean, they're there unless they have an early release, once they're there for the day.
So if they're doing remote, they're going to do remote in the school.
That's the way I would keep it.
What's the purpose of remote?
Well,
Unless you're fully.
Unless
remote.
they're
Unless it's
fully-
high school.
Unless they're a virtual student.
Classes are remote. Can you get permission to leave half day and go home and do your remote, or?
As long as so what we have right now is that you can request that from the superintendent, and if you are allowed to leave.
We do that now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if
But
it works
we
that
just don't want an
seamlessly.
hour in, an hour out, an hour
Right,
in.
you can't come and go. But if it's like at the end of, we need you to be there at the 4 periods, or depends on if you're playing sports, whatever. But as long as your schedule works beautifully and you don't, all your electives all your core classes are at the beginning of the day and you
Right.
can leave at the end, yes. But you can't come and go as you want. Homeschool, Laura and I were speaking about this just a minute ago. We need to contact the homeschool students now and send them a copy of what's going on at the Virtual Academy. We want to prepare that and get that out this week. And then go ahead and send them the courses, and then prepare for a follow-up phone call to those students next week. And I think we're both on board to be ready to go with that. I'm hearing that a lot of homeschool students in other counties are buying into it and are ready to sign up for the Virtual Academy.
Excuse me, but in that letter, make sure they understand that they'll be eligible to do our activities now.
Right.
To me, the question on that, though, is they're not going to have to do SOL testing.
Yes.
And they haven't done that as homeschool, have they?
They don't have to take the SOL test, but they're required to take a test at the end of the year.
Do you think the SOL will be a negative form that they have to do that?
Hopefully, if they have a good homeschool program, they're doing well. SOLs could be,
I mean, that to me, if I was doing homeschooling, that would really be the only negative. I don't have to pay for it. I've got extra support. But before, they only had to do a test at the end of the year, right?
it's not gonna be this is just my opinion, I don't think it's gonna be a negative to the student, it could be a negative to the county.
Okay. Could hurt us from a accreditation standpoint.
That's my thought.
If they don't
What
do
are you
well.
thinking, Angel?
Yep.
Possible, because we've had summer schools before that didn't cover Virginia SOL, And so if those kids took an SOL test at the end of the summer school, most of them wouldn't pass it.
Mhm.
That's what that's why I haven't seen anything on the SOL piece for admissions, but I think that we don't have the luxury to leave that spot out. And that's
Right.
my next piece here about the SOL testing, administrator, decision-making, and oversight. They do have an SOL. I mean, and that's in our initial letter, that we have the opportunity, or that we have the ability to withdraw them from the online and encourage and put them back in the in-seat should they not be doing well, or if they're still failing at the third grading period, because this is a great opportunity if it's managed well, and students have to take advantage of what's out there for them, but they also just can't do nothing. So the next piece is a budget. So I know we don't always talk about budget in public ed. I think I mentioned summer school not last month, and you're like, you're summer school, and they're like, So, but this is a number that I wasn't aware of, and it's the local effort. Mr. Mead, you might talk about that. But so what I saw yesterday was that Bland had 154 students that we could take in from out of district. So that means that, we could go for 100, and how that works. And I contacted them this morning. I contacted K-12. How they're doing this is if students just call them that aren't Virginia students, they're assigning them to counties. So I said, we're on board for that. And we could take up to 100 of those students.
Do we
those
still
students aren't
we still have to
allowed-
screen them though, right?
You still have to screen, they'll still go through our entire process. But,
Are those in-state students or out-of-state?
They can be out of state. They don't have to be anywhere. They can be a West Virginia student that can take these classes.
What sets the one, so you say we can take 154 students out of district.
According to
Where's
this-
that number
The
come from?
number is local are you familiar with that, Mr. Mead?
The local effort is what is not covered with SOQs. Would that be correct? And so we got like 60% that's under SOQs. The other 40%'s got to pick up for the local effort. So
So every county was listed, and it shows that Bland has 154 that we haven't, that we can still play with. Like Radford made 500,000 this past school year with that. Now keep in mind, let's say there's a Mercer County student that comes over as a ninth grader. I mean, these out-of-state students can't play VHSL. I mean, they can't do that. But if they enroll with us as a ninth grader,
yeah, as a ninth grader. Wherever you enroll as a ninth grade starts your semester rule. So
right, so there's some opportunity there for those kids and for our
How do you
athletic
handle
programs.
SOL testing on these students?
It would be the same.
My understanding, though, is that the students were going to have to do their SOL testing in some kind of a controlled environment, not really online.
No, so we talked about that. It is online. They have controls built into their system. So if you're completely virtual, you're virtual.
So you don't come into the school, do your SOLs?
That's what they told me yesterday.
Okay, that was different in the meeting that I was in. They said you would have to have a place to bring these students in to do the SOL test.
What I had heard that too, and what I heard yesterday was that they aren't coming in the building. Now that could change, but I was told that yesterday that they weren't coming in, that they were completely virtual. Now,
Only if
that
they
might
can-
work differently once the girl is in place at the academy, and she feels like that's gonna be a different control, but right now they were planning to put controls online.
I figured you'd have to do that in a controlled area with the SOL
Cheating.
testing. I
Cheating.
don't see how you could go virtual with that.
I mean, anybody could take
What are
the
your-
test.
The exact mom
Are
and
you
dad do
worried?
it.
I don't think that the SOLs are gonna have to be in a controlled environment. I don't think they're gonna let them just go and take it.
So if somebody was from like out of state, like she said, or whatever, they would have to come to the
Well, it's gotta be
school
a
to take
controlled
their SOL?
environment. Doesn't mean it's gotta be here.
You could test maybe somewhere else, but
You
he
could go
said,
to another local, well, I guess.
It'd have to be
local school.
somebody where
school or
they say, okay,
something?
you show me your ID so I know it's you, and then you're gonna sit in this room and do this test, so I know you're
Would that be handled through the academy, or?
I don't
I
know,
think
it
it's
sounds
all
like
of us,
this
but-
is wavering at the moment.
And the last piece about that, the money is, what do we do with teachers right now? How do we know how many are going online? It looks like maybe year one, CARES Act funding, we'll take that, and then year two, we'll have to absorb attrition. So I feel like maybe we'll be okay for year one if we look at, I was thinking last week, wow, if we have a lot of students who are going online, we might have to think about faculty, but I think we should be okay for year one, and then think about year two attrition. And then the last piece was homeschool, and we talked about that. So, still
See, I
thinking,
was asked about homebound, and the reason I was asking, because sometimes we get homebound students that are off for 6 weeks. And, we have to hire a teacher to go into the home.
right,
Can this be used for that?
it can.
That'd be great.
And you and I talked about,
I had a
Yeah, for
couple
sure.
quick questions.
Okay.
On the course list that Edgenuity that you provided here, and I'm for sure that Stride and Virtual Virginia have their own courses as well. But it says on here, in the fine print, it says these electives are priced separately by enrollment. Some of those are career classes, and I mean, there may be some of our students that are interested in that, and I'm all for it, but, are we buying into pretty much this whole list?
can I see which page, let me see which one you're on.
Well, just about all of them. All of them have it on there. It says, this one's CTE courses, and then, I think after the CTE, there's, several of
What we
those things
charge
that are
per
there. So
course.
the question would just be is, how much of these different courses are we gonna be able to offer online?
Semester
The
or-
way I understood it yesterday was that this just came, we just got these today. I
Yeah.
mean, they just sent it, and they've asked us to go ahead and send today to set up a Zoom meeting with our counselors and our principals and our admin team to go over these courses. I understand that we're gonna just be paying by student, and then looking at if they're gonna be completely virtual, how much that will cost.
How many courses they're
Yeah,
taking.
exactly.
I mean, that's what they've said so far, it'll be, if you're completely virtual, it'll be by student, if you're doing it by class.
Different
you know,
rate.
Right.
then it's a rate per hour.
Okay.
It's 2,000 to, yeah, well, you know that.
I guess, and it seems like everybody's going kind of the way you're saying, is that year one, the cutting standpoint, nobody's talking about doing any cutting.
I don't think so.
And what they're looking at, though, is the additional cost, is everybody's looking at hopefully paying out of the CARES Act.
For the first year, yes.
Right. Second year, then, your CARES money's gonna go away, so you're gonna have to say, okay, we don't have that pot anymore, so we've gotta rebalance everything based upon, now we have knowledge of how many remote students we're gonna have. My question would be, in this first year, is there any additions? We're saying there's no subtractions, because we're gonna cover it. Is there any additions required to do this virtual in our organization?
I don't think so. I think we have the people in place that we can do it. Some of the larger districts have liaisons, like for the elementary and for the high school and for whatever. I think that as long as we're not putting any extra burdens on our teachers, and we can still facilitate with we have people in place to facilitate. And now this might change, Mr. Shepherd, if we throw this out and we have a huge intake. I'm not expecting it to be something exuberant right out of the gate. And know that this is only a one-year project that's funded for 1 year, so they have to knock it out of the park for it to move forward. So I wouldn't expect us to need additional help
Now,
out
if
of
we
the
start
gate.
bringing in a lot of students out of the district, I mean, that's gonna be an additional workload on somebody.
It is, but it's all the same. It's manageable. It's like, it's the
But who
same
does
systems and
it? I mean,
processes.
who's the liaison for that?
Well, I think it would be like the 30 students we bring in now out of the district. You know, we handle them as ours. But if that number became 100,
Yeah.
Well, we're losing X number of students already, so hopefully we can replace those students with
Yeah.
these, and
Yeah.
shouldn't be.
Yeah, but that liaison can't be one of our teachers, can it?
No, we
No,
have,
it's,
And we want to start the
We-
process
we-
here.
The beauty about all this too, and Jill's done a good job with this, is we have got to do something for our teachers. Our teachers are just overwhelmed right now, and this, taking this virtual piece away from them will probably keep some employed here. So this is gonna be really good for our teachers. And we'll see after a year, the pandemic flows away, if there's no more pandemic, and we might get back to brick and mortar instruction, face-to-face instruction. We don't know right now.
I think this is just an opinion, I think in the lower grades, brick and mortar will be the way it ends up. I think in the higher grades, once this happens, you'll never put it back.
Yeah, I think that we'll never lose virtual, even what our teachers learned from the pandemic and even that spring, all of that, they'll push even.
Yeah, I don't think
Well,
you're
I
gonna put
like
it
the
back in
virtual
box.
aspect of it, just so that, because there's so many other classes
Right.
that kids could take to have available that we might not be able to offer here.
I
so.
mean, that's right here, apparent in this. I mean, business law, Gothic literature. I mean, they've got some options.
Now, these are
Our
all.
kids won't take that, but they, yeah.
Yeah,
You never
Best
can
part-
tell.
They'll never
you're
know.
right.
I mean,
yeah,
But
these
they
are being
gotta have
done
the
on
Charlie might have
courses
took
first.
on a
business law.
semester schedule, right?
I'm
These
sorry?
classes, these high school classes, you do a class in a semester, right?
That's right. And
Everybody
the other
else
piece of that,
but-
that's really good, some of our students don't do vocational because they hate to ride the bus. And there's real opportunity for skills classes, so.
How does this
Virtual ag
compare
class.
to where we're currently on a
Virtual
7-period day versus, Mr. Mead was already saying something that this may be used more on a block type schedule. How do you think that's gonna affect us?
We deal with that now, with vocational, we're the only school right now that's doing a 7-period day in our I think in our region. Am I right on that? In our region, or is there another one? But it's something we deal with. I mean, our kids go to Tazewell and we can deal with that. I don't think that.
Would it help us to be on a block schedule?
Oh, Mr. Buttrey, I will. I think we're doing fine where we are right now, but I think, something to think about. I'm not gonna be on
something
the
for the
hot seat on
future,
that.
or
Something for the future.
Yeah, that's not on the agenda.
Oh,
on
it
this
is.
agenda,
let's
right?
step back from that.
Not
Let
on the
me-
agenda.
I've
We
been
got
in
18
timeout for a
balls.
while, I don't wanna stay there.
Let's throw
go
one
to-
more in there. What
Let
the
me
heck?
finish this up real quick. So, just to clarify where we are and what we need to do pretty quickly, we need to poll our students this week, our virtual learners this week. We need to send our letters to homebound students, and we're ready to go with that, or we will be, right, Laura?
And
Um,
homeschool, you're reaching out to the homeschool
home-
students this week too?
Home school,
Homebound.
yes. I put homebound, but
It's
it's
homebound,
homeschool, yes.
Mhm.
We want to schedule Zoom meetings with the providers and get our admin team together and the counselors so they know what's going on. And then we want to make sure that we have our letter about emissions requirements. I don't think we want to be too stringent, but we want to be in line with what the providers are requiring. And then the last piece of this, if this was really a straw man's proposal, but it's really not, is what's the decision? I think the decision's made for us, that we've already joined the academy. How do we do it? For us, I think that a lot of school systems haven't provided options like Ed Options or provided other online opportunities for students, and we have, so we are familiar with that. It's just agreeing on the oversight and the parameters, and the rest is going to be business as usual. Any questions on that? And I just want to touch on a few more things here.
This thing's just moving at an amazing pace. I'm just watching from when they started talking concepts to where they are now, it's just been unbelievable.
We have some big leaders in charge, and it's really, I mean, it's CIP, we're going to get CIP rolling, and it's just business as usual almost across the board. I'll just, from another perspective, off of this, if there's no more questions on this, I'll just
Okay.
remind us about Power School. So this is March. This is about the time that where we were last year. Just training. We gotta have somebody that can make this happen. And then I have another comment there that's not for, that's just for thought. And we're gonna try to get some tutoring in here in the next little bit, at the high school, and Mike's gonna work on it after school and on Wednesdays. I also would just say, we decided not to do online. Summer school is a summer school is not the best option. Rarely do students learn what they need to learn in summer school. I've not seen it be hugely helpful. But that Edgenuity is also an option if we look at some of those students who are failing. It would provide an option, and online is not a great option for summer school, but we really want to get to the next level. We could look at Edgenuity for that. That's something we did for Ed Options. This is like, Edgenuity would be like Ed Options. So something we could look at if there's a couple kids that we really want to be, that we don't want to have to retain. So
Well, I think, I mean, we're not trying to pick the solution. We're just saying that we can't accept letting the number of kids down that we're currently looking at. And if it means, I'll say, having a motivational thing that, hey, the year isn't gonna end and you're at this point. We're gonna stick with you and you're gonna stick with us and we're gonna pay to do it. If there's a better solution, we're not against a better solution.
Yeah.
I think we have a solution for it. I'm just saying we might throw that in. I was just throwing it out while I was thinking about it to principals. It's one more thing that we could think about for kids who are almost there but just might need it, because that can run semester 1 and 2 for all summer long. So
Okay.
that's all I have. Is there any questions?
Whole lot of information. Like I say, it's just amazing how fast it's moving.
I want to ask something, with the course details, are these gonna be asynchronous where you're given the material and the student will have to teach themselves? Or is it gonna be synchronous where they will attend a live lecture, or is it vary between?
You have all teachers in these classes.
Yes, but will there be
Synchronous.
a live instructor
Yes.
just to be teaching it through like either Zoom format or something like that?
And it would be like, so a class would be 30, 45 minutes long, each class.
Yes, because that's how the government school in Abingdon, where they work at the higher ed center, that's how they do it. They'll either have the material where you'll learn it and you're quizzed on it, or the teacher's actually got the webcam up and she's giving you the presentation. Or with SOL testing, if they were considering fully virtual, would it be possible to do a lockdown and webcam regulations with that, if that was to be opened? Because through experience with COVID hitting last year and having to take a communications class, public speaking, you have to take certain types of tests with a lockdown browser where you're regulating saying, here's my ID, here's my material, this is my surrounding area, and this is what I'll be doing for the test.
Right. They're looking at all those options, so I don't have the exact answer for SOLs, but they're definitely looking at, I know the people in charge of this will make sure that we're in agreement with whatever the SOL protocols are.
That's a whole lot of information. We appreciate it. I know you've gotten up to speed really quick here.
Thank you. All right, thanks.
Okay, we're gonna go to public comment here. We're running late on this. Mr. May? Well, would you rather wait or?
Whatever you tell me to do.
Go ahead.
All right, I'm already up and going too. Y'all all right?
Yes, sir.
Well, I spoke to you several times, and every time I get up here, I'll let you know what format I'm speaking to you in. I am speaking as a representative of the Blaine County Education Association. We met yesterday, and we had several members in attendance, and we looked at the agenda for tonight, and we know that there's been some discussion about changing our in-person learning schedule and maybe extending out our regular days back to regular school days. And we just wanted to address some concerns with that. They're using that extra hour at the end of the day to tutor their students that have fallen behind. And as we know, we have several students that have fallen behind, and that we do need that extra time to help them get caught up. They're working with both students remotely and students that are in the building that need help passing an SOL with a verified credit. Additionally, most teachers are using their planning period during the day to help get in-person students caught up, or the virtual students that we have brought back to in-person, helping them get caught up on the missing assignments that they had from the previous semesters. Therefore, this hour in the evening is used a lot of times in place of the planning that they substituted during the school day. It's also used in, it's also with only one grading period left. We would be disrupting our student schedule once again this school year if we decide to change the school days back to a longer day. And we have a lot of students that thrive on routine, and we have changed their routine several times this year. And if we decide to change it one more time, we're asking them to adapt again. Furthermore, we are still concerned about students wearing masks for extended periods of time without a break. Executive Order 72 states that masks are required, as well as 6 feet of distance. And as far as we understood yesterday, that executive order has not gone out. And so even when we have extended days, part of the reason that we said, or you all said, we want to go till 2:30 is because we're worried about them wearing masks all day. So we don't see how, if that regulation hasn't been lifted, we should be considering extending our day. Lastly, it can be argued that extending the day is to benefit our students. However, they are best being benefited by this extra hour where teachers are able to spend specific time with specific students, both virtually and in person, that are falling behind. Don't assume that because the Education Association is advocating to keep our current schedule, that we are choosing our work time over our students' education. Many of our teachers chose this profession for our students, and we are doing everything in our power to ensure that they are receiving an appropriate education, both in person and virtually. So I'd like to say thank you for your considerations.
Thank you. Mr. Grimm, you're up. And if you want to cover that subject while you're up, well, it's on the agenda later in the meeting, but if you want to address it now,
Well, good evening. Enrollment currently stands at 335. We are one student above where we were this time last month. You'll notice the attendance chart I've handed you. We're trending across with the same level attendance, well above the previous 2 years, but it's where we are. We currently have 71 virtual students. As of today, 21% of our full enrollment at BCES. Key events that we've had in the last couple weeks and items that are coming up. We just currently had the spelling bee last Tuesday, and our building winner was Jocelyn Parks, a 6th grader. BCES celebrated Dr. Seuss Week last week with themed days, ugly hats and ugly shirts and all kinds of wonderful things like that. Virtual guest readers from across the county, which was kind of a treat to see exactly who we'd be able to get, and I appreciate all their assistance. We are in the middle of kindergarten and preschool registration and screenings. Those are actually running the first three Wednesdays, so we've already had one of those. Last Wednesday, we were able to screen 13 kindergartners. Each one's given a one-on-one time with a teacher, and they go over some preschool skills that are appropriate for their age right now before they get into kindergarten. We have 18 more students signed up and expect to probably get 2/3 of our entire enrollment by the time we're done next week. And then we'll bring people in on one by one as we need to work with them, students and parents. Preschool did 8 screenings last week, and we expect our preschool to be at capacity next year very easily with 12 students. We've actually met with Elgin today, or in BMC. We're pretty excited about that program. We've received 15 forms back, which doesn't really seem like a lot, but for a program that hasn't existed and trying to get that out through social media and sending forms home, I guess some parents have read those, thank you. And then for Lindsay to work through those students on Monday, she'll be hopping pretty quickly to get through that, and we expect to get more of those coming in on Thursday. And we'll be sending out more information on social media to remind parents that those need to be in. But pretty excited about that. The space has been renovated. So when somebody says, it's all out in the old ag building, no, that's not what that means. It's an entirely renovated space that BMC worked with us this last fall to get that renovated. They have access to a restroom and running water, and it's a pretty nice space that we have
That's
out there.
available to the virtual students and?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. We, I believe we mailed those home directly to the virtual students as well, too. So let's see, e-backpack, we've been working with them to get that up and running again. Right now with the scenario of if a student shows symptoms, they need to be out of the building as quickly as possible, has kind of put a damper on our e-backpack program to be able to do those telehealth screenings. Looking to see what we can do to get that up and running again, hoping that we'll be as close to normal, or the new normal, next year, so that we can work with our nurse, Muncie, Kathy, to be able to get that up and running, and to be able to serve our students and families again. And kind of drug Tyler into a bunch of those meetings. He was really thankful that I could do that to him.
He looks excited.
He was just thrilled. He was just thrilled. But I think he's pretty excited about it too. Kids Heart Challenge is coming up with the American Heart Association starting on the 15th in our PE classes with Miss Hankins. So we're excited to have some more programs running where students can be socially distanced as they exercise with masks on, sometimes. And then STEM Up program with the oversight of Ms. Radford will be starting here on the 16th, running through May 13th. So that's a pretty good run we've got going on there. And we'll be excited to have more students in the afternoon. We are going to try to do some tutoring to kind of coincide with the transportation for STEM Up. So, knock out two birds with one stone. Coming up, my teachers are probably sick of saying, let's monitor where our students are and make sure we're serving them on all their different levels and needs and constantly updating those. And if I say the word watch list to them one more time, I think they're gonna run the other way. But we constantly need to know where our students are, how we're serving their needs, and what additional pieces we can put in place to serve them. So they're jumped on board with that. I think I've worn a lot of people out, but that's kind of what we're doing, trying to do everything we can for our students at this point. And the only big thing coming in is I'm starting to think about summer, but not as in relaxation. The idea is, what will summer school look like? How are we housing that? How many students will we need? On top of working with JDM to get our building ready for the next school year, which will be their first full-term summer with us. We have some projects that we need to finalize and probably communicate with Mr. Mead, School Board Office, and the board about which are priority. Sewer line 1 freaks me out a little bit because that's meaning we'll have to turn the water off for a while in the building, and you'll have to send me home. That's terrible. Unless you want me to work out of your office, of course.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's the
He says that now.
That's the golden office.
We'll bring in a porta john.
Well, Michelle Willard, if you're watching, you heard that. We'll go from there, but that's kind of where we are. I wanted to keep it short and sweet today, and because I know Tyler's got a lot of good things to talk about.
What about, as far as you sent out letters, I guess, for the kids for summer school, right? We sent that out?
We sent the notice that originally came out from the school board office.
Okay.
Sent that with students, put it on social media. When the the 9 weeks ends on the 16th, we will send more personalized letters in with those grade cards as well, talking about, because typically the concern for danger of being retained and those kind of pieces are pretty much delayed this year, and we've not communicated them as early. But as soon as we get the grade cards home, I think that communication is going to be pretty strong and intense.
Did you hear any feedback from the initial? Any response?
Some folks stood up a little straighter.
Did they?
And paid attention to it. Yeah, it's certainly got some concern because some folks are like, yes, I can't wait to go. Or parents, I can't wait to send them.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that is that's probably the last place a lot of our students are going to want to spend their time, unfortunately, because I think it'll be quality. Teachers will still make it fun and entertaining and learning environment. But yeah, it's not exactly the, hey, how do you want to spend your June kind of message that a lot of students want to hear. So. Masks, is that the additional piece? Or the extended hour and how it relates to? I'd have to support exactly what Josh says there. The bigger piece is, and it's like, I feel like I'm gonna quote him, is that Executive Order 72. It's not changed. And Mr. Mead and I had talked about this a couple weeks ago. Why was the initial reason that the hour was pulled from the day? And how have we been able to address that? Well, the order has been expanded, I think, 3 times at this point, that the governor says, now you have to wear them outside if you're standing too close to somebody. So our students are now wearing masks on the playground because they can't necessarily distance the way it's expected. And as a government building or government-funded building, we need to follow those guidelines as they're in place. Mask break is not a term that's used. It's not available. You can't go 7 feet away from someone and take your mask off if you're in your building. You can't sit in your office by yourself with the door closed and take your mask off. I would never break that rule, but it's not allowed to happen because that's the expectation, and we need to model that for our students as well. So it's a difficult piece. I personally would love to have more time with our students to be able to work through and take care of what's going on. I think Josh is sizing it the best they possibly can. It's different than it's a new normal, but it's an effective normal. But it put us to our younger students especially, as I pull it away from my mouth to catch my breath and then go forward. So I think it's a hurdle. We don't have an answer to what we originally put in place to serve that problem. When we were kind of hoping today the governor might change something, and that didn't happen. So that's what I know.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Tyler?
Good afternoon. Everybody okay? We've got 339 students at the high school. 263 are in person and 76 are virtual. That's a decrease of roughly 20 some odd students that were coming back in person. Actually, I have 4 more today that said that my kid will be there Thursday.
Cool.
So,
Is this for academics or social?
say that again, sir?
Is it for academics or social? I know you have-
Academics. 2 senior mommies and 2 8th grade moms.
Did you have response like Mr. Grimm, or as far as on?
I had 2 say today when we
Yeah,
made
but I
those
mean,
calls.
that's the kind of feedback that you're getting, so that's kind of the
talking
feedback
about
we
summer
kind of
school,
wanted. Yeah,
or-
as far as the when we sent the information out, I know we haven't sent it, it's been more social media and stuff, but it's
We
not
sent that
through
out via email to the same message that Laura
Right.
or Mr. Radford and Mr. Mead put together. I've got one student who's passing every class, but his mom said he'll be attending. So it's a mixed bag. But I think we'll have it's buzzing.
Yeah, that's
You
what,
know,
I mean, that's the
kids
thing
are
you
already
want.
looking around the corner like, am I that guy? You know, so.
Well, they should know.
Well, I had a young man in my office today. I said, pull up your grades. I said, and I went to the bathroom. I said, have them up when I get back. And I come in there and he's still on the homepage. I said, have you been checking your grades? He's like, I know that. So it's a mixed bag, for sure. Excuse me. Key events, we had virtual parent-teacher conferences the last 2 weeks in February. We pulled those in Wednesdays. Participation was low, and that was the case last scenario too, or last round of conference. We'd like a higher rate there, but it just doesn't happen with a virtual conference. But we hope to get better at that if that's something we continue to do. I'm sure Charlie and Miss Page will touch on some of the things we did this past week, but homecoming was this past week, and that was a huge hit. We were honored to be able to do something normal, quote unquote, for our students and our staff. Our homecoming court, Alexis Arnold and Bo Bradshaw, were elected as queen and king. Of course, all staff members participated in that pretty much, but making sure everything went seamless, that's a big deal to handle, and especially with the virtual component. So we appreciate all staff, but especially Ms. Weichel. Wanted to give a shout out to 81 Solutions, TJ Hicks, Darren Bland. He helped us on short notice and gave us a pretty decent price for our homecoming orders, our shirts that we were able to offer our students. And being able to help a Bland boy is always something we try to do. The shirts were designed by the kids, by the student officers, submitted. He's able to produce those graphics or designs and put them on shirts for us, so the kids really like that, and so did our staff. One of the most important pieces of last week was a can drive that we were able to pull in over 2,100 donations of cans and box goods for the pantry there at the Mission. So we got a nice little picture for that for the paper, but more importantly, the message we want to send is, it's a community effort regardless. We know they've been struggling, and like everyone else, but we were honored to be able to help that. I'm proud of our kids. Athletics and activities, fall sports have started. Football, volleyball.
Spring.
Right, a little late. Cross country and golf. We've got volleyball on the road to Galax right now for all 3 levels. We were able to put together 3 levels of volleyball. We've got middle school and varsity football. Of course, our cross country team and our golf team. Marching band has been able to put something together here. Of course, Mr. Purdue stays together year round, but with the modification to the outdoor spectators limit, we were able to get our band involved pretty easily as far as contrasting to our numbers, our overall numbers that we can have inside the outdoor venue. Ms. Gates and Ms. Saylor are putting together our cheer squad that will participate Saturday and next Saturday. We've got 13 students that are interested in that. That was when the order changed March 1st. That was a big shift for us to be able to allow more opportunities for kids. So we're really pleased that they can put together something on such short notice. Looking ahead, Denise and Karen, they're peas in a pod. If we didn't have Denise and Karen, I don't know what we'd have. They're putting together of course, trying to streamline registration for kids for courses into next year. And I'm sure we'll be working with Dr. Hopkins to get that online portion that she presented today. Continuing on, looking forward, of course, we're preparing for all the end-of-year things that we can. Awards Day, Senior Awards Day, baccalaureate, the picnic, graduation. Seniors were able to nail down a time that they'd like for graduation, 7 o'clock, May 29th at the football field. Ms. Parker put together a nice post for us on Facebook and communicated that via Remind. So we're starting to roll. Things are starting to go a little quicker. If you look at the calendar, we don't have a ton of time. It'll be here before we know it. So we're working as quickly as we can. One of the most important pieces, of course, summer school. We'll be able to have a really good idea who's some of our top candidates for summer school after this grading period.
You want to call it a top candidate?
So
I'm running for summer school.
Right. It's a buzzword in the hall. Who's in? So big money, no whammy. But so at the end of course, this grading period, we'll be able to have a really good idea of who needs to be in there, and then kids that want to be in there. Like I said, I've got a parent whose kid's passing everything. He'll be in there, Tyler. I said, okay, we'll take it. Of course, board consideration moving forward. Ms. Hayes touched on a lot of things about athletics today, and that's a bottled up piece. We can't. Serving athletics is a big monster. Especially in a small town, you don't have a lot of resources, but I understand exactly what she's saying. Those are things that, of course, we know are there, and we're going to try to make happen. But for consideration from the board, definitely the bleachers, and we've talked about that a substantial amount. And our court at the basketball would look like to resurface that court as well. Like Ms. Hayes touched on, a lot of things are expensive, and we've got a lot of expenditures and not much revenue, if any, coming in right now. So we're putting together what our budget needs may be from an athletic standpoint, simply from the kickbacks that we've had this year. I've not been doing this a long time, but in talks with principals and athletic directors that have been, you want to maintain about a $30,000-$40,000 budget line to be able to survive in case things go wrong. And we're right there. like I said, I'd have to check with Tiff, but we're right there. Because we've had a lot of things coming out and not much coming in. So those are some things we'd like for the board to consider. And to touch on the extended day, I wish I'd have gone first. I won't piggyback off both of them, but I'm definitely going to piggyback off both of them. It's until the order changes, I don't see how we could, if our initial talks on why we reduced the hour was because of the mass time, I don't see how we could look at going back until that wording is different. That's number one. Number two, the remediation and tutoring hours that the teachers are offering students after school. We've got a couple seniors who are on the phone. Hey, I can come at 3 o'clock. Hey, I can come Wednesday at 11 o'clock. Those hours are helping substantially. Not to mention the virtual piece. And also not to mention all the work we're asking them to do for the same pay. Let's just get down to it. The same pay. And it's a lot. And it's a lot for them and it's a lot for these guys. So first things first is the wording in the order hasn't changed. So I definitely want to support Mr. May, Mr. Grimm, and anybody else who supports keeping that time the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Supervisor of Technology, Denise?
Good evening. Just a few things. As Tyler said, Karen and I are trying to get together on scheduling and registration and things like that, trying to come up with a plan for that. We've completed the fall testing today. Now we're on to start spring testing, which writing will be next month, and as soon as writing's over with, we'll start into the non-writing portion of that. Last week, I received training on the United States, or the federal part has not waived the part for testing all students. So the Department of Education, they want us to try to test all of our kids, some way to get them all tested. And kids don't have to be tested. I mean, they can opt out, well, not really opt out, but parents can refuse to have their kids test due to COVID concerns, especially your virtual kids. But the federal government wants us to try to get everybody tested if we can. Nothing else to see where students are at this point. So the Department of Ed has come up with what they're calling the Virginia Remote Testing, which is another piece to testing that the school test coordinators are going to have to work on. And what it is, the kids can do it SOL remotely. They will get a score on that, but it's not going to count for, it's not going to be in any of our accreditation, it's not going to be in anything. It's purely to show where those kids are standing. Because it's not a secure test. Our SOLs are secure, as we were talking earlier. They have to be in a secure environment. These will not be, but they will have the release test items, past test items on these tests for these kids. They'll be shorter than, granted, our tests right now are shorter than they were, but these will be even shorter than that. But it's just to give us an idea, parents, teachers, an idea of where they are, where the children are standing at now, which this is just another step for our STCs. They'll have to create those sessions. The kids will test on the same software that the kids in the schools will test on, all of that. So that's something else we have to work on to get ready for testing this year. I've been working to try to repair some Chromebooks. I'm not as quick as Nick was, but I'm figuring out where all the screws and stuff are at in them. A couple of kids walked by the other day and I must have been talking out loud because they stuck their head in. So I am trying to get some of them repaired because we're running short on loaners. And one other thing, I'm looking at Chromebooks for first graders for next year. HP is already on back order. So I don't know if it's just because it's HP. I talked to several reps. They just don't know. Because I can get Dell Chromebooks right now. So I ordered one just to see if it was any different. I gave it to one of our teachers that uses, does well with, and she came back and told me, she said, the only thing that's different about it, it says Dale on the case. So I can get those immediately. So I was thinking for our first graders, just so I can get them in-house and have them, so we're not going through the same thing that we went through this past fall, and have those in-house. So I was just a little worried, but she said, no, the only really different, might have been a couple a little bit, but not anything that was big. It was still the same, looked the same, software looked the same.
I think mostly the
and all of
problem last year was just parts and stuff coming
Yeah.
from China.
And I think
that was a
that's
lot of it.
part of HP's this year
Yeah.
too, because they've been slow about getting their stuff in too. And after I talked with Mr. Grimm and the signs, I'm working to get those back up and going.
It looks okay
It looked
today.
good. It looked good today.
It's not news,
No.
it's not great software.
Right, no, it's not. But now I've got to work on Tyler's to get it.
LED signs.
They updated the software on it, and I don't have an account, and the accounts we were using are no longer there to use. And that's why we couldn't get logged into the software, so.
That's on the signs?
On the signs.
Where do we
Yes.
get the software from? Was that through the sign company or?
Yeah, and it's the free version,
Yeah.
so, the only people that have accounts are Mr. Grimm and Tyler, so.
It's their fault. Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
it's your all's fault.
Just the spelling errors.
Oh, okay.
Well, the one that I
Hey,
saw
you're going to summer
yesterday-
school, young man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so hopefully we'll have the high schools back up and going soon. So, any
So
questions
yours
for me?
isn't working.
It's got,
Mine's 2020 census on there.
Yes.
Right.
I looked at it one day and it's sitting there, it just says Bland County High School. And I'm like, okay, so they got it fixed. They got rid of all those slides. You go back the next day and you've got the 2020 census back on there. So I know what the issue is, I just gotta get with Tyler. and-
Oh, Have a Great Summer was on there one day.
Yeah, have a great
I can
summer.
put that on ours.
Yeah.
Sooner or later.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, special services, Laura?
I'm gonna go quickly because you've pretty much already touched on what I had. I just wanna revisit a couple of things that have already been mentioned, and I will be quick. Going back to the spelling bee, that Gifted Ed sponsors, I wanted to congratulate Elliot Miller, 7th grader at the high school. He won the spelling bee and he, advances on to competition in Roanoke for the regional spelling bee. So, good job, Elliot. With STEM, the only other thing was just an update. We have 60 students who have registered for STEM, so our numbers are down, but we're very happy to just be able to do it in person. So, but as of today, there are 60 that are registered. So, and that's really all that I had for today.
Homeschool students, what's your thoughts on that with the?
I have already, I think I've told you before, I've had a couple of homeschool students, parents who have contacted me and have said that if we go with the virtual school next year, they want to enroll their students. I feel like once we contact all of the homeschool parents, we'll have a few more. I also think that there'll be several who will come back in person next year. So I'm hopeful that that number's gonna go down for us.
Okay,
So,
great.
okay, so that's it.
Okay, Mr. Mead?
I've got a lot of repeated things here. I'll be brief. It's really good to see our kids to be able to participate in some things they've been missing for the last couple of years. And football for one of them. It's good to see us. We got a team back on the field. I'm proud of those young boys. There's probably maybe one senior, two seniors, maybe. The rest are underclassmen. So they're really doing real well and growing as we speak. I haven't heard. I put this on here for CDC updates. We still haven't heard if they're going to lessen any of those. I think that's what those guys were alluding to
Yeah, it
earlier.
would be from the governor, so.
Yep. John Melvin did work on the football field for us. If you get a chance, please stop down and see the bathrooms that he redid. And also, he replaced a good many boards. Yep. So, yeah, the top 4 rows on the visitor side, all of those were replaced. And he did some upgrades on some block that was under it. So he said,
to use all of them now?
yeah,
The whole-
and I had it inspected, and that's what they told me to do, is replace those. And so it's going to work this year, maybe in the fall as well. We did a walkthrough with the Board of Supervisors this past Wednesday. I thought it was very beneficial. They got to see the facilities and what's actually needed in our facilities right now. They went with both schools. We started at the high school, we finished at the elementary school. And I thanked them for coming. I thanked them for giving us the time to look for our schools. And hopefully we have a meeting coming up with them. So I'll let you know when that's going to be scheduled.
One comment on this, we said budget figures in this meeting, and I want to make sure that they don't feel they're being blindsided by that. I mean, these numbers came out today, so you need to make sure that tomorrow morning, first thing, you make all this apparent to Dr. Workman and the Board of Supervisors. I don't want them to feel that we were withholding anything. The numbers came out at 3 o'clock today. And we had our public hearing, so we're somewhat required to state where we were at. So make sure
You want me to send him the working papers we have today?
yes.
Okay. Would you do that for me in the morning? So I got to get ready for.
Dum dum da dum.
Tomorrow, or you going tomorrow?
I'm leaving tomorrow, but I'll be. Yeah. Let's see, where am I? Lunch deliveries continue every Wednesday, and tomorrow's no exception. We've been delivering lunches. We've been delivering lunches in this weather. Hats off to the bus drivers and the folks that's volunteered to do this, our cooks. We continue to do it, and it's a really good service for our kids and our community. I take my hat off to Kelly. Kelly's the one that gets this together every week, and she's right in there and gets her hands dirty, and we deliver the food. Even though sometimes it's 2 or 3 inches of mud, we're there. So I'm proud of them. That's about all I have right now, sir. We'll move on.
Try to keep it rolling here. Ms. Page, this was quite an introduction to your first meeting.
Sure you still want to do it?
Hopefully some of it was of interest, and we welcome you, and Charlie's been a great addition to our board, so we've really enjoyed having him. So with that, I'll let the two of you razzle-dazzle us here.
Thank you so much. Everyone doing all right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, you?
Pretty good, pretty good. A lot of points were made tonight, and I plan on to reflect on some of those points. Main point is homecoming week and how that turned out with the students. We saw a lot of in-person participation, a lot of outfits, and it was pretty comical, if I do say so myself. More specifically, though, the Battle of the Cans, which was the canned or box food project that we had between the classes, that was a huge success. There were 2,135 cans and box foods total. And seniors winning first, they donated over 642 items. So I can definitely show you pictures later of literally the truck that was pulled up to the gym and how we stuffed it full. I'm telling you that. So we're proud to help out with food insecurity and getting all those products to the Bland mission. With FBLA, regional results did come back, and we do have several students that will be qualifying for the state level of competition. So Mary Walker qualified in agribusiness, 3rd place. Andrew Hill, cybersecurity, 1st place. Gabby Akers, Carrie Havens, and Avery Cook qualified 1st for hospitality management. Bo Bradshaw, insurance and risk management, 1st place. Chessie Tyndall, introduction to business, 2nd place. Jason Wilburn, introduction to business communication, 1st place. Nate Nolly, introduction to business procedures, 1st place. Madison Moorhead, introduction to FBLA, 1st place. JT Russo, political science, 3rd place. Kagan Young, securities and investment, 1st place. Amy Meadows, word processing, 1st place. Indian Robertson, introduction to public speaking, 1st place. And me taking 1st place with future business leaders and organizational leadership. So that leaves 16 people that can qualify and move on to the state round. So they will do their competitions, either the objective test at the school, or they'll be able to hop on a Zoom for one of the business or presentation events that they have to compete in. Moving on to 4-H objectives. Elizabeth Johnson couldn't be here with us tonight, but we did want to give you an update on what Blaine County 4-H has been doing. And if Paige, if you would like to pass out these, and I'll pass you to each of the members, yes. So,
Thank you, Paige.
this is a little gift of saying thank you, and
Thank you,
just
ma'am.
show you some updates of what's going on within the local level.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
ma'am. Oh, that's nice.
Good time for
Thanks, Charlie.
St. Catherine's.
Nice
And-
models on the front page, aren't they?
Yes. So, we have
Well, they got
been
mom.
trying to
They look
get
like the mom.
yes, we have been trying to get the elementary and the youth 4-Hers as active as possible. So, with 4th through 6th grade, they've been helping with the mask, and as we gave to you, bringing some 4-H spirit into the school communities, showing off that green clover, and even Virginia Tech colors, as I've seen throughout the school. We are giving out polar projects, so young 4-Hers can experiment with that. There's also going to be some science projects for 4th and 5th graders to present and understand the difference, like electric currents and different aspects of agriculture. And we're also in the works of getting 4-H camp approved for the summer. From what we heard from the state level, we are able to have 4-H camp at a reduced capacity. So we'll have the applications go out, and several 4-Hers and team leaders can go to 4-H camp this summer, crossing fingers all the way. And that goes the same for State 4-H Congress on the state level. We're looking into hybrid options. So the Virginia 4-H State Cabinet has been working hard on seeing if each region will be able to host some in-person events, and then the rest of the Congress across the Commonwealth would have those virtual options for competitions, meets within the universities, and et cetera. Moving on to Beta. So a big reason why I brought Paige by here tonight is that she has won the election on the state level for the next Virginia Beta Secretary. So with her campaign slogan, and I'll let her talk more about it if she wants to, fly higher with fire, so students in Beta can soar to new heights. And We're so glad that she got this position because it's been several years since we had someone serve on the state level for Beta, and it's good to have student representation on the state level and helping out with inclusiveness, all those big topics, and taking on the world problems. So congratulations again. If you have any questions for me?
No, well, like I say, we really enjoyed you being part of our board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, those constitutional bylaws and structure for the student representative here soon, just to specify what can be or cannot be done by the student representative. And I'll go ahead and make this as an announcement. In the April meeting, I have selected 2 young individuals to become the next student representatives. Those would be Paige Vire and Anthony Bright. So during the April meeting, I would ask for y'all for approval of these 2, approval of the constitutional bylaws, and then they'll start their term sometime in July. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So when I finish my term, these 2 will come in and be filling those roles.
They provide dinner on their first one, right? Is it?
Or on their last one.
The last one
The
and the
last
first
one,
one.
I think they provide dinner.
But yeah,
We'll go down to is Weary Feet, or what's the name of that?
Weary Feet Hostel.
Yeah, we'll all go down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, great home cooking. My mom can vouch because she used to cook.
Well, you look like you've done well with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would like to mention the conversations we actually had during third period. I was talking with Anthony, Paige, and Miss James about how this role is really to bring the connection of other students to y'all. And also these people that go into this role get to learn different aspects like mental health awareness, different rights movements, and they get to learn what it truly means to be a leader. So in the April meeting, I hope you give them some tough questions to answer for you because for those, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie.
Welcome, Paige.
Thank you.
Okay, Philip, any comments here?
Got to visit with the schools last week, enjoyed that, seeing our teachers, appreciating them. This past weekend, we were able to take in a football game, and it's good to see our varsity boys out there getting some experience, and good to see community coming out. And I hope that we can see that happen in a greater way. I do believe that our students do need to return back to a full day of in-person learning. I know it's already been stated here this evening, other reasons why not. That's just my personal thing tonight. But also with that, before the board last year, we had discussed looking at insurance rates, which I know we'll talk about later on in this meeting, that kind of got sidelined a little bit. But just want to let everybody know that we're continuing to do what we can for our employees to provide the best coverage that we possibly can. And I appreciate everybody for what you're doing. We'll keep on working hard and seeing what else we can do.
Sharon?
Just a great big thanks to everybody for everything that they've done this year. I know it's been hard for students and teachers and you guys at the school board, and I really do appreciate you from the bottom of my heart.
You doing?
Ditto there with Sharon, but I apologize, I couldn't make it to the school tour there Wednesday. My morning was already planned there, so, but appreciate all the work by the administrators and the school teachers and everyone for all they're doing, and just thanks a lot. Keep it simple.
I appreciate everybody's professionalism. I mean, you look at this meeting and what all we go through in a meeting like this, and I appreciate all the work that everybody puts forth. Okay, trying to move along, approval of payments. Anybody have any questions on the payments?
Mr. Mead, I want to ask a quick question. You had a invoice for the virtual academy. Was that included in any of this? Did that get paid?
We're gonna cover that as item C.
Okay, great.
It has been paid, my understanding.
Yeah, it's on there.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve the payments.
I'll second.
Mr. Buttrey?
4.
Mr. Bailey?
4.
Ms. Puckett? 4. Mr. Shepherd?
For O&M projects, we approved going ahead with roof replacements several months ago. Weather hasn't supported that, but hopefully we'll be able to get that going in the next week or so. We have to do a major sewer project at the elementary school. That was discussed with Mr. Workman, Dr. Workman, on this tour to see just how the county and the school system can work together on that, being that it is a public sewer system. So we'll that'll probably take at least a week, and that will mean no water, no sewer to the school for that week. So we've got to make sure we plan a week where we're totally shut down at the elementary school. The heat pump, barge units, things, we're waiting for some additional electrical quotes. Getting the heating, cooling is not a problem. Convincing somebody to get into school and rewire it has been a problem. It's a difficult project and not a desirable project, but I'm hoping to get some additional quotes this week, and I hope one of them, at least one, comes in where we can move ahead. Next item, Virtual Academy. We all agreed some time back, to go ahead and pay the $10K, but while I tried to convince Lenore that it had been approved, she wouldn't go along with it. So I actually went through the minutes of a meeting and could not find any place where we had an official approval. So I need a motion to approve the $10K to join the Virtual Academy.
I'll make the motion to approve the 10K.
Second. Second.
I didn't say it that way.
No, that's not what we said at all. No.
Were you supposed to respond? I was on.
Only wrong once, and that's when I thought I was wrong, but I was right.
Yep.
One time I thought I made a mistake, but that was wrong.
I was
wrong.
mistaken, right? Yeah.
So I made a motion.
Second.
4.
Mr. Bailey?
4.
Ms. Puckett?
4.
Mr. Shepherd?
Lenore, that's when you do the.
Okay, do we have a nomination for Quill from the Hollybrook Mechanicsburg District?
Yes, I have a nomination.
And the
Winner
answer
is. The winner is. And I'd like to nominate Cameron Burton to fill the open Hollybrook Mechanicsburg seat for the Board of Directors for the Blaine County School, Public School Foundation for Quill. And that was from Kathy Strock.
I guess you can make that as a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept the nomination for Cameron.
Second.
Mr. Bailey?
4.
Ms. Puckett?
4.
Mr. Buttrey?
4.
Mr. Shepherd?
4. And the Sharon District.
And I'd like to just real quick thank Kathy Strock for her effort and all that she does.
Yeah,
She's a great
job.
individual,
She
and
definitely did.
I appreciate Ms. Strock very much.
I hope she still does the Rook tournaments.
Yeah, we need to get another one going here.
Okay, the Sharon District, we are reappointing. And
Linda Harmon. Linda.
I'll make a
So,
motion for do we need to make a motion for the reappointment?
yeah, I think we do.
So I'll make a motion to reappoint Ms. Harmon.
Second.
Mr. Bailey?
4.
Mr. Buttrey?
4.
Ms. Puckett?
4.
Mr. Shepherd?
The next one is the current schedule. Will we maintain the current schedule, or will it be modified?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to put forth a motion that we modify the schedule to go to regular school day, ending the school day at 3:30 as previously in school years.
Do I have a second?
I'd like to have a discussion about it with,
Okay.
I know they were all, Me personally, I think it benefits the kids to have the additional time in the class with the teachers. I know, especially on days when there are a snow schedule, that they basically have enough time to get a roll call and get a few things done, and it's time to get off to a new class and stuff. But from what I hear from our principals and from the teachers as well, is that they don't feel like it's something that we can do at this time, especially with the mask mandate. So, so I'm not. I guess I'm not going to second that. I just.
And I appreciate that. I mean, and that's fine with me. I mean, and I realize these folks here, they have their voice, and that's what this is all about.
Yeah.
But as far as me, I have a voice of my constituents, and everywhere I go in my community. When are our kids going back to a full day? And you know, it's a thing that we want to work out here tonight, and don't think that I'm against anybody, or if don't let your feelings get hurt. It's just
Exactly.
This is the democratic process working itself out. So whether the motion goes forward or not, you know, I want to know that I've done what my constituents have asked me for, and what I believe is the next step toward getting back to a normal solution.
I've had very few people actually say anything to me. So, I mean, me personally, I think we should, but I have to also back our principals
And I understand that.
Yeah.
Well, I've had people support going for the longer day, but my hope was that we get some relief on this Executive Order 72.
And that may come, if that comes, you know, if that comes next week, if that comes later in the week, if we, I think that we can put it to a vote. If we have to do it by phone poll, we can be fluid enough that we can make the change on the fly if we have to. So.
Well, I want to do it out in front of the public so that they can see it, and that I've done my part. And other board members, you can voice your part, and that's what it's all about.
Yep.
We may not all the way always agree, but it's something that we can at least be civil about it and get it out there.
You don't want to arm wrestle?
I take money home, Mr. Butcher.
I don't know about that.
Okay, at this point, we will table that.
It's open for a second, so he made the motion.
There's a
so it is
motion on
open
the
for a
floor.
second.
Right,
Yeah,
there's a motion on
there
the
is a
floor,
motion,
but there's
so-
no second.
There's no second.
and
Motion dies for lack
Yeah,
of
the
a second.
motion dies.
Okay, insurance rates, I don't know, was it a 1% increase? It was a small increase.
Yes, it was very small.
But,
decrease, it was actually a
It went
decrease,
down
yeah.
1%.
um,
So it came out to be about $9 per person.
So how in the world did that happen?
Well,
A decrease, I mean, that's, yeah.
Celebrate.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, that's,
A lot of times how that happens is insurance companies find out that they overcharged, basically. They didn't have to pay out as much, and
schedule that's in your packet, so that you can put that in the budget.
we do need a motion for that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the new insurance rates.
second,
Mr. Bailey?
4.
Mr. Buttrick?
4.
Ms. Puckett?
4.
Mr. Shepherd?
4. Okay, we need a motion to approve the network administrator. Denise, the name of them is, I should have it here. Network Systems.
Was it Network Systems or? Advanced, okay.
And
I
that's
thought,
for a contract, a one-year contract? Yes, sir. And the price on that contract was? $1,500 a month. Okay.
And it was about $1,300 to get it started, correct? Right. That was a one-time thing.
Okay. To put all that together, that's our motion.
Yeah. I make the motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Buttrick?
4.
Ms. Puckett?
4.
Mr. Bailey?
4.
Mr. Shepherd?
4.
That's your second happy dance of the
God,
night.
that's so weird.
Okay,
Nice.
budget meeting. I mean, I think, here's my recommendation. Mr. Mead, you need to write a letter to Dr. Workman. You need to explain that in this, there's a 2% wage increase. If we are going to a 5% wage increase, that would mean an additional $150,000 would be required from the county.
Is that what the state's proposing?
That would take it from 2 to 5, right?
That would take it from 2 to 5. It's $50,000. It's $101,000 for 2%. So it's a little over $50,000, 50 and change for 1%. So if you do another 3% on top of that 2, you're another $150,000.
So this current budget is a 2% raise.
Is a 2%.
Okay.
And in this budget, we have $350,000 of COVID money, CARES money, whatever you want to call it, to cover the things that are allowable under that from a one-time expense.
Yes, sir.
And that's it. Right now, it's in both the expenditures and the revenues. And other than that, it's basically is the ADM, which the state put us at 631.35. Okay. And this is the latest numbers from the state as of today, right? They were adjusted as of today. So you need to explain that to them and say, you know, here's where we are. And it's kind of what we've said is that with our declining enrollment and the minor, I'll say minor inflation, but the inflation you have in wages and other costs, this is the pattern we're on. And it's a pattern of between $200,000 and $300,000 increase a year.
It's not the first time he's heard that.
And so our question on a budget meeting is, we need some guidance from him.
He wants to come to the next meeting. He said he'd be glad to come and talk to us about it, so.
Yeah, if you, for our next one, whenever we do, let's make sure we get some dates that works well with him. Just make sure we'll,
Why don't you, you want us to put dates out? You want us to ask him for dates?
Let's put a couple of dates out.
how quick do we need one?
Well, he wants it before the end of the month. I'm gone from the 17th to the 22nd.
Can't do the 18th.
Well, you can, but I won't be here.
No, I'm saying I can't.
Oh,
Yeah.
you can't, okay.
Can't.
Well, that's the day we'll do it then.
Yeah.
Y'all can do it.
Two of you going? No.
I mean, we could do it.
Probably need it early that next week, or about,
What about the
23rd.
23rd?
Yeah,
what I
16th,
was gonna say.
23rd will probably be good. Sooner in the month rather than later would be best for me because
I think I've got another meeting. How about the 24th? Would that work, or?
It should be okay.
what time in the day?
That's your church night.
Yeah. Let's
Yeah,
do the
but I mean, if
25th.
you got to do it during the
Do
day.
the 25th.
Okay, we can
25th?
probably do 25th, yeah.
Okay, so tell him that's a date that works for us, but for him to get back to us.
Okay.
I mean, if he wants a very quick date, would you guys
Monday or Thursday?
want to do next Tuesday or not?
I don't think I have any problem with that.
I'm good. It'd probably still need to be late in the evening for me, so.
All right, so the 16th or the 25th is,
Yeah, if he wants to do it, jump on it and do it quick, we do the next week, I think.
Like at 6?
I have to get a letter. Somehow I'll get him a letter.
Yeah.
I'll be on the road tomorrow.
okay, personnel recommendations. We're looking at hiring 2 people for IT support, and we have 2 candidates that have been recommended. Somebody wants to make a motion to go ahead with the recommendations of employee A or individual A and individual B, since they're not employed yet, but
I make a motion that we extend the offer to individual A and individual B.
Second.
Mr. Petrie,
Forward.
Ms. Puckett, Mr. Bailey,
For.
Mr. Shepherd.
For. And my understanding is that what's listed as a resignation is really not a resignation, it's just they're not going to be available for another contract.
Correct.
So
So
we
we
don't
table
need to do
that one.
anything. We'll table that one.
And I'll
And
make
I-
a, m-
I know nobody's in a hurry, but would you like to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
I appreciate everybody.
Yep.
This one was a little long,
Apologize.
but I think there was a whole lot done, and this
Forward.
virtual academy, I'm just watching this with amazement. He moved that fast.
The government's not involved.